Take a deep breath, faithful Niner, because today, the red tide brings 4 waves that could flip the week in Santa Clara. There's a trench giant under the microscope, a familiar face who knocked on the door and left a message, a young player who turned pain into competitive fuel, and a behind-the-scenes maneuver that could tweak Sunday's game plan. What ties it all together? Tough decisions, tight timelines, and direct impact on how the 49ers play. You won't believe what we've got today. So sit down, drop a like, and let's dive straight into the news. Ready for the final plot twist? You know when the market offers a rare piece and your instinct says go get him, but the medical file raises its hand and says slow down. That's exactly the tightrope Christian Wilkins is walking. Since his July 24 release, after disagreements over foot rehab, the conversation has gained momentum in columns, listing the 49ers as a possible landing spot. But a Jones fracture is tricky. It demands a careful ramp-up, an unpredictable biological response, and a competitive calendar that punishes setbacks. That's why the debate in Santa Clara is less about excitement and more about calculated prudence, with doctors, strength staff, and analysts sharing the same table before any move. On the field, the marriage is tempting. Wilkins brings a relentless motor, interior anchor, and most importantly, inside pressure that changes the math on third down. Lined up as a 3-tech 2-eye or 4-eye in nickel and dime, he walks the guard back into the quarterback's lap, squeezes the base of the pocket, and speeds up the read. Against the run, he plays with active hands and low leverage, stacking and shedding cleanly while closing gaps without losing pursuit angles. In stunts and games, he shifts protections, opens lanes for the edge, and shortens the throw clock. It's exactly the profile that, when used well, lets a defense disguise pressure, win downs with 4, and save ammo for the fourth quarter. But good tape doesn't sign contracts. If talks advance, the ideal structure is short and smart, modest base, per-game active bonuses, snap percentage triggers, sack and playoff incentives, classified as not likely to be earned, plus clear protections in case the foot flares up. It's the low-risk, high-upside package that keeps the cap healthy and rewards real production. There's also the backdrop of guarantees the former team tried to void and that remain on the union's radar, a legal vector that can influence the timing of any signing and therefore needs to be mapped in due diligence. And the fan base, split in passion, united in urgency. One side wants action now. January is decided by the teams that collapse the middle and kill drives without blitzing. The other preaches patience. Don't tie up cap in uncertainty or steal reps from young players who need to grow. Both have a point. If medically cleared, Wilkins would freshen the rotation, empower heavier packages in short yardage, and allow a load management plan that preserves burst for December. Without him, the focus stays on internal development and cost-controlled alternatives. The current read is pragmatic, active monitoring, updated medical dossier, and a pencil behind the ear. There's no public visit scheduled in Santa Clara or a formal offer out there. There's market study, snap share simulations, and an open door for a full checkup if clinical signals improve. If the green light comes, integration would be gradual, with a pitch count early and incentives that scale up. If it doesn't, the script holds and the window stays open for surgical tweaks as the season's chessboard evolves. And that wasn't even the most surprising part of the day. Here's where the story feels like a reunion cut short. Kendrick Bourne, the same one who left his mark in red and gold, showed up in Santa Clara, worked out, talked things through, and rekindled memories of a partnership that seemed possible. Yet in less than 24 hours, he hopped a flight to test with the Commanders. The message was clear, no deal. And the reason, according to folks tracking the back channels, smells like league minimum territory, never an appealing pitch for a veteran who wants more than a ceremonial final contract. The math is harsh. Bourne wanted snaps, volume, and a runway to rebuild his market before the next free agency. The staff offered a temporary role, almost a bridge. Over the first 3 weeks, sure, there'd be space alongside Pearsall and Jennings, but once DeMarcus Robinson returned in week 4, the funnel would tighten. Later, with Brandon Ayuk, Jacob Cowing, and Jordan Watkins back on the board, the snap squeeze would be real. The question echoes, why would a receiver hunting for opportunity lock himself into a scenario where he quickly becomes a supporting actor? From the front office's perspective, this was a useful short-term ad, a low-cost piece to steady the room while the roster heals. For Bourne, it looked like a dead end. Without room to produce consistent film, his market value drops and 2026 free agency gets even murkier. In Washington, he sees a less crowded path, more playing time, and maybe numbers that better match a veteran's pride. In other words, a stage where he can write a new chapter without relying on someone else's injury for visibility. Among fans, opinions swing between nostalgia and pragmatism. Some see the locker room energy and third down instincts he once brought. Others admit the moment to reopen that door has passed, and pushing it would trample a renewal process that's finally taking shape. What remains is the bittersweet feeling of seeing a familiar face stop by and leave without committing. A reminder that the NFL isn't a series of tidy reunions, it's a hard-nosed marketplace. The team might keep the offer alive as emergency insurance, but the odds of a return lost steam. If Bourne doesn't find what he wants in Washington, sure, he could call back, but the chance of seeing him officially in red and gold again shrinks with every practice he takes somewhere else. And while we're all buzzing about that, the next story packs even heavier emotion. Ricky Pearsall is one of those names that remind us football is more than X's and O's. A year after surviving an armed robbery that nearly cost him his life, he's become a mirror of resilience on and off the field. For many, it'd be understandable if the flame had dimmed or fear had taken over. But just 50 days after the incident, he was back on the grass in red and gold, proving he wouldn't be defined by tragedy. And it didn't stop there. He kept the smile, the contagious energy, and a commitment to inspire everyone around him. Kyle Shanahan admits he was struck by the lightness with which Pearsall handled something so devastating. In his words, he's the same every day, radiates happiness even after going through something that would make anyone doubt the world around them. That's the kind of presence that fortifies a locker room. The team looks at him and gets it. If someone can turn trauma into fuel, there's no practice too hard or opponent too tough to justify quitting. Pearsall's story goes far beyond crisp routes or acrobatic catches. It's a lesson in humanity. It isn't easy, and he knows it. In recent interviews, he revealed he still revisits the moment every night before he sleeps. You can't erase wounds like that, but how he chooses to handle it is what impresses. Instead of carrying the memory as a burden, he uses it as motivation, a platform to inspire others fighting invisible battles. That makes him not just a valuable athlete, but a quiet leader, a beacon inside the roster. Now entering his second year in San Francisco, Pearsall stands on a perfect stage. With the responsibility of taking on a lead role among the receivers, he can turn that resilience into elite production. The raw talent flashed last season, but 2025 can be the year personal drama becomes an unforgettable sports narrative. The question remains, how far can this blend of pain overcome and ambition take him? And hold that thought, because what comes next involves a back-office move that could nudge the franchise's check. Russell Gage was the name that popped up on Adam Schefter's timeline and triggered that classic behind-the-scenes alert. Not a football cut, a cap maneuver. Officially, the 49ers released him from the active roster. In practice, the plan is to bring him back to the practice squad and elevate him for Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks, assuming another team doesn't swoop in. At the same time, Marquez Valdes-Scantling went the other direction, promoted to the 53. At first glance, it's confusing. Financially, it makes plenty of sense. The explanation lives in contract language. At certain points of the season, remaining on the 53 can trigger full guarantees. With Gage, that risk existed. To avoid locking in roughly $700,000 to $1 million, the front office shuffled pieces to keep control. Valdes-Scantling, carrying a veteran minimum-style deal inherited from Seattle, offers more margin and less immediate cap impact. It's administrative chess. Every week counts, and every line in a contract can become the difference in the long-term budget. On the field, the expectation is Brock Purdy keeps both in the plan. If he isn't poached, Gage returns via the practice squad and suits up against the Seahawks. Valdes-Scantling, now on the active roster, is also in the mix. For fans, that means minimal change Sunday. The targets remain available while the club preserves flexibility. It's the sort of invisible play that rarely makes headlines but can translate into extra resources for emergency reinforcements or key extensions down the stretch. As always, the initial reaction is suspicion. Why cut a guy in a divisional week? But look at it through the planning lens, and it's clear this isn't a talent loss, it's cap engineering. Still, there's that knot in your stomach. What if someone else offers Gage a real shot? Then the picture changes and adjustments accelerate. For now, the plan is pragmatic: save money without losing weapons. And that wraps a set of intense stories with questions still echoing in the air. Niner family, after a whirlwind like this, you can't help but pause and take a breath. We saw the weight of caution with Wilkins, the almost reunion with Bourne, the human and competitive inspiration Pearsall embodies, and to close, a front office move proving every dollar matters for a contender. All that in a single day. So tell me, which story hit you the hardest? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear from the faithful. And don't forget, smash that like, subscribe to the channel, and ride the red tide with us.